here to make trouble.
Then why are you here?
This is going to sound strange. But there's been a problem. It's complicated. I've been pulled through time between the past and the present. I was in the past.
Oh, just get to the point, Loki.
Sylvie, I was in the future, and I saw you. The TVA is in danger, and you were there. I need to know why.
So you see the future now. Cool.
It's not something I chose.
Look, as much as I'd love to see the TVA burnt to the ground, I have no intention of going back there. My life's here now, and I'm not running. I'm happy.
Explain what I saw then.
I don't know. I don't care.
It's the future. It's going to happen.
Is it? Really? Because that sounds a lot like the future's already been written. And we both know that it hasn't, not anymore. I made sure of that.
Welcome, everyone, to What the Fiction, and welcome to our show, High Tea, Low Key, where we are covering the entire season 2 of Loki, and especially the second episode today, Breaking Brad.
I don't know if it has any Breaking Bad references at all, but like...
Welcome back, Robin.
You didn't give me a segue to introduce myself. It's fine. Hi, I'm Robin. And today I will be joining my mother, who likes
What?
media.
Media?
Likes talking about media.
Talking about media?
Likes encouraging family to do so too. Likes Star Wars and
Star Wars.
all related things.
Yes, that's me. Yep. So with this show, High Tea, Low Key, we actually have tea, and today we are having a raspberry rooibos with elderberries, rosehip, blueberry, lavender, rose petals, and natural flavor, plus rooibos tea. So hopefully it's delicious.
I have a feeling that's not how that's pronounced, but good luck.
Rooibos?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've been pronouncing it wrong
Your whole life?
my whole life. It has a very distinct flavor
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it, but we'll see.
of lavender.
No, I'm not a big fan. Like, I like lavender, just not particularly this.
I haven't
kind
had
of
a lot of lavender in things. Like, it's not something I seek out.
I can smell it.
I'm gonna have sugar though.
Oh God, yeah. I'm gonna try a sip. Is it cool enough that I can sip it?
I don't know. Try it. You're welcome to have tea with us if that's your thing. We're having this particular tea because it's decaffeinated and or a herbal tea rooibos is not caffeinated.
10 p.m. on a Saturday. Dating the podcast.
Oh, that's kind of nice. I'm gonna have a little
Touch
bit
of milk.
Is it?
Isn't that scandalous to have in
Is it
herbal tea?
It's not really herbal. It's rooibos. It's not herbal.
Can I stir this in?
Yeah,
Cool.
do your thing.
Sick.
We are also having freshly baked raisin scones for those people who are not in Britain. And I made Devonshire cream, otherwise known as clotted cream, for the scones because we are actually having high tea.
Did you cut them?
No. Was I supposed to?
I feel like you need to cut them, don't you?
I don't know. I was just going to have it on top and eat the scone. Although eating on a podcast, again, is still like questionable.
It's like a weird thing to do.
Maybe I'll just like have half a scone. So Robin, what were your over thoughts on the episode?
Overall, yeah.
Yeah, Breaking Brad.
Yeah, I liked it. It had a different tone than the last episode did. And I've noticed that these like episodes kind of have like a complete story within them.
Yeah, certainly.
Like I could watch this as a standalone, being like, oh, this is just random Loki content. And I think I would kind of follow what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like interesting to me.
I felt like this episode was weaker than the first one. Just like from what was being shown and stuff. That's where I'm eating my scone.
Yeah, I think that that's fair.
It felt important. It surprised me, but it also made me think like there's a lot of controversy around the actor who plays Kang.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like he's been arrested and like charged with some pretty bad things.
Since Loki originally?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And like
do you think they'll
during
recast?
Quantumania.
Do you think they'll recast Kang?
I don't know. I have this kind of like theory that Ravonna Renslayer might be a Kang because I thought that would be a really cool choice. But I don't know. It's also kind of hard to figure out like when Loki is happening because time sort of doesn't matter in Loki.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Like I think. Well, we know that there is a present, a past, and a future of the TVA. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And does it necessarily matter when that happens? Not really.
Like what I mean is like compared to the rest of the MCU.
Yeah. There is no timeline.
When did the events of Quantumania happen? When did the events of the Multiverse of Madness happen? You know, like, are they before this? Are they after this? Are they...
Damn, Mom, this clotting cream is really good.
Devonshire cream, sometimes they call it.
I don't know, it's really good. Good on my scone.
It goes really well with scones, right?
It goes really well with this tea.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, I'm mostly tasting sugar.
Well... I love you, and you can eat sugar when you're with me.
It's okay, you're not an almond, Mom.
So I'm not sure it matters. Like, is Loki an exclusion, or is it working towards something? And is that something like reconnecting with Thor? Like
Man, I would love him to do that.
Like
but
we guessed.
He's not going to. I think it will, in a roundabout way, lead to Loki reconnecting with Thor.
Mm-hmm.
But that reunion will be complicated because it won't be the Thor that Loki knew, and it won't be the Loki that Thor knew.
Yep.
So it'll be kind of messy. And I think that Loki has kind of moved beyond his ties to Thor, and Thor has moved beyond his ties to Loki after they've kind of been separated by the sacred timeline.
Yep.
AKA Loki died.
Mm-hmm. He's not that Loki anymore.
No, he's not. But he's similar.
Well, he's not even the Loki that was like, and that's what this episode really shows. Like, he's not even the Loki that, you know, took out his anger on New York. He describes it that way, right?
I was like, oh, man, you remember when I was so upset about my dad and brother that I, like, literally killed a bunch of people? Oh, wow.
And held New York hostage.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's, like, such a relatable experience for this normal man who doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, I love how Mobius just sort of listens to him, but we'll get into that.
You know, I think that Mobius's like name, a Mobius strip never goes anywhere.
It never ends.
It never ends, but it also never goes anywhere like a line would, you know, like this.
Oh yeah,
timeline
you're stuck in a permanent loop. Yeah,
and I think that that's very fitting towards Mobius's character.
The inside of the Mobius strip eventually becomes the outside of the Mobius strip, and so on. Yeah,
I know what a Mobius strip is.
Good.
And like it also like it's just kind of fair, and it never, you know, there is never an end. Therefore, it never has a beginning. Therefore, it doesn't have a yes, it does kind of have like a. I'm just saying that Mobius's character, he will need to break from the Mobius strip in order to be like have development, which I think is the thing that we're beginning to see, because in this episode there is several breaks.
yeah, there absolutely is. And there's a consistent theme of like, what is my other life? What are all the possibilities? And this was really explored in the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which you know, our beloved Ouroboros is from.
Sausage fingers.
Exactly. There's a few people I wanted to talk about just briefly. Director Dan DeLiu, he actually is a major visual effects director for Marvel, and he actually has been involved since Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned this.
And he was actually the visual effects supervisor for the first season of Loki. And they asked him if he wanted to direct an episode of Loki. I'm not sure if he directs more than one. I'm going to have to check that out. But he was brought in.
It's cool that he's directing this one.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't have all that SFX.
There's not that much visual effects. Like,
he got to go crazy with the shadows.
Well, the shadows, yes, but also
And the magic.
And the magic, yes. There is some really cool things that are happening, but this has a lot of practical set design, and that leads me into production design by Kazra Farahani, who literally sourced all of the classic McDonald's location material. Went to the McDonald's headquarters and went through their archives, was able to find like the old wallpaper. There's an old Grimace mold, so like the little standee. They sourced like everything, and then they found outside of London, just kind of like in the suburbs, there's this restaurant that used to be like it's like an abandoned curry restaurant. And they were like, no, that looks like a classic McDonald's from the outside. And so they transformed that into a classic McDonald's. They went above and beyond. And I'm trying to think about and think about this in your head, like, why McDonald's? I think that there's a reason other than McDonald's paid them lots of money to have it in there.
I mean, like, it's also kind of a staple of like an era in time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like when I was growing up, like I was born in the 80s. This was a staple of childhood.
You're aging yourself, mommy.
No, I know. Do you want some more tea?
I'm good for now.
Oh, okay. So how is the lavender
It's
tea?
good. With a lot of sugar.
Yeah, I need a lot of sugar for this tea. I was okay last time, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it without, I think.
I like that like lightly tea fruity note. Yeah, because sugar just sweetens everything up for me.
It's okay.
I really like bitter teas with like a lot of sugar, because then it's like the bitterness is, I don't know, sugar kind of removes depth in a lot of ways, but like
yeah
I still get the like, ooh, this is actually really mellow, but on my level. Yeah. Obviously overall the amber/cyan color palette stays very consistent in this episode. It is everywhere. It is so prevalent. And, you know, during that entrance scene, the green of Loki's magic, anytime we see him use magic, is very harsh in contrast to the amber/cyan. You're like, whoa, that's green. Which, like, you know, normally, like, with the normal balance of colors, you would be like, oh, no, this isn't so green. But it's very green and very prominent. So I think
compared to when you would see his magic in the MCU, there wouldn't be as much of the
like, whoa,
teal and orange filter.
And I think that is like symbolically, it means that it's like unexpected and like out of place. Like, oh, he's using magic fluently again. Like, ooh, that's wow, what's happening? And the color palette shifts tones very strongly when tension shifts. And you see it, like, you see amber be kind of the more docile tones sometimes, and then you see cyan be the more, like, intense tone. And then sometimes you'll see cyan be more docile and amber be more intense. But it's meant to just show a shift in tension in the arc, in what's happening in the show. You see it in the intro chase scene when it goes from very, very amber and, like, oh, they're chasing each other, to cyan when they get into the little, like, hallway dead end area. And it's just like, you thought you could run away. And he's like, I can. And it's like kind of just like this brief, awkward pause. You see it in the first interrogation when it goes from amber to cyan. Like, you know, when Loki's comforting them. And it's just a very quick change to like show that the tension is changing. And into the second interrogation, it goes from chill cyan to intense amber again. So I think that that's just to show like an interesting change. Yeah, and also, I don't know, I've had this thought for a little while, but I think that casting Owen Wilson as Mobius was good because he looks like a kind person.
Oh.
And I think the reason I say that is because when you have like a slightly asymmetrical or unsymmetrical face,
Yep.
it makes you look kinder
Really?
because you look easier to talk to. And I think casting Owen Wilson as Mobius is good because he's slightly unsymmetrical face, like with his nose and stuff.
Mhm.
You can just kind of like, and Mobius, he genuinely does try to be like a kind, unassuming, soft presence.
Yeah.
Like, and if you like compare him to Tom Hiddleston, who has much more of like a symmetrical, angular face, it's, you know, Owen Wilson doesn't have like a super strong jawline, I guess.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like a soft man. And I think that works very well for Mobius and like lends to Mobius's
Well, we get like a angular cop, soft cop thing
yeah.
going on. No, and I did notice this episode that Loki has some of the, like, especially the jaw cheek chisel amped up. Like, it almost looked comic.
And the TVA, just another note, just like general stuff. The TVA almost always wears classic or timeless outfits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're considering, like, oh, what is classic or timeless? Typically, you'd think, oh, more rich, more expensive, kind of like classic, not you know, super showy. They don't wear many bold colors. They just wear like browns.
The orange.
They wear browns and blacks and like light blues and all of those colors you'd associate with like basics or neutrals. And like, sure, they're all kind of wearing more fancy clothes, but I think the reason that they all wear more everyday, like kind of classic timeless outfits is because the TVA is timeless, and in any time where they show up they fit in. Like, you see them in the 70s, they look fine. You see them in the 80s, they look fine. You see them in modern day, they look fine, right?
They haven't really gone past like.
Also, Loki wears a pea coat and I have a pea coat. Yeah, so I just thought that was an interesting thought. Because
is Loki on your like Halloween costume list?
Oh, yeah. I could never look as good as Tom Hiddleston, though.
Who could? All right, are those all your
that's
overview
just my kind of overview, like general, like I notice these things. Outfit theory is so interesting to me.
It really is.
Yep.
Yeah, I got deep into it when I covered F4 Thailand, because the person who was like choosing the costumes and who was doing like the style stuff, it like purposely chose things to like play into the characters.
Yep. It's super prevalent within like Euphoria and like Bridgerton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So the episode starts with Loki and Mobius following Hunter X5 into sort of the sacred timeline.
Note that it is the sacred timeline.
Yeah, they always tell us that, which is super useful. Loki and Mobius are already pre-dressed into tuxedos, which made me think like maybe they knew what to expect, right? So maybe they sent people ahead of time.
I love Loki's frilly shirt.
Yeah, he's got like a rough.
He is extravagant.
It is 1977, London, UK, and they're there for a movie premiere. Specifically, the movie Zaniac with Brad Wolf with an E. I don't want to talk about the movie just right now. I'm going to talk about it later when they talk about the movie. But the movie itself and the name Zaniac has deep, like, Marvel ties.
It's wild.
It's wild. So they go in and Mobius confronts Brad Wolf, aka X5.
I'm gonna call him Brad the whole time because he corrects people multiple times saying he's Brad.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is it fascinating to you that Loki refuses to call him Brad and Mobius only calls him Brad once he's corrected him?
It is interesting. Loki, you're a queer person, buddy. This is really disrespectful. I don't know. I'm only gonna call him Brad because as a queer person, it's like disrespectful to not call somebody by their preferred name. He prefers Brad. I'm gonna call him Brad.
Yeah, he definitely went out of his way to say, I'm Brad Wolf. I'm not X5. Like,
live the life you want to live, bud.
He is fully engaged with the revelation that like the TVA and being a variant, working for the TVA was meaningless for him.
I wish he had more of a on-screen realization of that, though, because the last time we see him is with General Dox, and
he did say this changes everything for him, and then she was like, "This changes nothing," like totally dismissing him. So I thought it was there. Maybe it could have been stronger.
Yeah, because I was like, I mean, this feels like a weird jump, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
This episode wasn't as strong as the last one, but how do you follow that up? So, again, I forgive. They have a short production time.
Loki comes up and Brad offers them all a drink. Loki's like, I don't want to have a drink.
No alcohol for me, please.
But it, Mobius is like, well, it's because you're like on duty or whatever. You don't.
Yeah, because like Mobius thinks that Loki's like he's making a face of apprehension, like, oh, I don't want to drink. And Mobius thinks it's about having alcohol on the job, but it's actually about the fact that Brad's running away.
Exactly.
And I think that that's so funny because I think Loki would totally have a drink on the job otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there's a chase scene.
Yeah, no, and this chase is freaking exceptional. So Brad leaves and immediately runs into B-15 and look at her outfit.
I love it.
Oh my god, she's so stylish.
She's so slay.
I wish we get a better view than this 3 seconds of her in this orange outfit, which she has the most orange on her outfit because she has the TVA symbol and a bunch of orange with the black on her normal outfit. But this dress is fit. Brad escapes.
I love her jewelry and stuff. This is a bad photo, but
yeah. Honestly, I tried hard to get a better photo of her. It's really hard. She's got a head wrap. She looks amazing. Brad escapes and runs down another corridor and runs into Mobius. And he's like, just let me go. And gets shot with Loki's magic blast.
Oh, all of these the camera work here is so cool, with the up angle, looking for, kind of slightly tilted. I would say that's more like a Dutch angle than anything, but it's not really Dutch angle, and it's just the quick camera flashing is it's meant to show intensity, so we're ooh, apprehensive,
follows ooh. Loki, it's the cameraman was backing up at the same pace as Loki down the corridor.
The camera work this season has been so good.
And then Brad continues to run away, which Loki chases him until he and that chase is awesome. It was great until Brad runs into a group of sort of UK gang people, I guess, or thugs.
I don't know. I think they just don't like Brad.
But what it turns out is that it's actually just an illusion. And so
Loki's really on his magic stuff again.
Yeah, I wrote down Loki has his groove back because not only is he sort of playing with Brad, he's also teasing him and
cat and mouse.
Yes, exactly, and playing with him.
Loki is a black cat.
He is. And then we see Loki capture Brad with the 3 Lokis that have captured him, and the shadows reach up and we get the horns.
Oh, when I saw those horns, we were watching it together, and my face when I saw those horns, I was like, what? Jaw dropped. Because I feel like Ragnarok was kind of when we saw Loki renounce his horns a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He renounced his horns in the sacred timeline.
But Ragnarok wasn't this Loki too, right?
I know. And so to see current Loki we follow embrace his horns and be this is still who I am, but it can have a different meaning kind of vibe. Sylvie's honestly given up her horns.
Yeah.
So to see him still kind of mildly embrace his horns was super cool to me because he can be the same and also different.
So we get magical blasts, illusions, shadow play, multiple Lokis, and Mobius talks to one of the Lokis and says, well, this was a little over the top. What's with all the shadow play? And the other Loki responds, well, I thought it was spot on. So and
that turns out to be the real Loki.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's so interesting that he was on the right because it doesn't just put us off. It definitely puts us off. We're oh, but it's also Loki wasn't entirely comfortable, or he didn't really want to be the one in the middle, doing the magic, I cause you harm stuff. He's like on the side.
Yeah.
I think it's also a strategic move because hypothetically Brad escapes.
Yeah.
You know, runs directly at the middle Loki, the one causing him problems. And so it's like a safety thing where he's like on the side. He's
still tricky because he's like strategic and tricky. I love this thing. I also love the shadow play idea because it's like, well, what is the shadow projection of Loki showing us?
Shadows.
But no. What is the shadow projection of Loki showing us? Well, Loki probably at some point wants to find his true person, his true self on the sacred timeline. Like he wants to reintegrate into the sacred timeline at some point, I think. Because that's what Brad wants.
I also think like there's a lot of I'm a villain at Loki. Like he's like called a villain a lot. And to have the horns, the big villain sign of horns, is like a clue in that Loki is like coming to terms with his villain past.
Yeah.
Like, the way he talks about the Battle of the New York.
And as Brad confronts him later on. Yeah. So they drag Brad back to an interrogation chamber.
Oh, yeah. This scene is so interesting.
Yep. And, oh man, like Brad mocks Mobius.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you can continue.
Oh, yeah. Brad mocks Mobius. Brad mocks Loki and is like, why don't you just be a villain? You're just a villain. That's all you'll ever be. That's the only thing you're good at.
Yeah.
He never really goes after B-15.
Yeah, no. I was going to ask you about that because B-15 says 2 to 3 lines in that scene.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that scene can't be super long. He can't attack all 3 of them. But she says nothing during the fight, and Brad doesn't pick a fight with her at all. He fights more with Loki and Mobius than he does with B-15. And it was, like, interesting, and I, like, wanted to ask you about it. I was like, what do you think that means? Because I couldn't figure it out. I was like, maybe it's, like, a camaraderie thing. Like,
I thought it was maybe related to the fact that B-15 is also a hunter, like him.
I thought also, like, maybe B-15 is, like, not pretending. Like, Loki and... Like, Brad views Loki and Mobius to be pretending. Also, you see the screenshot you've got right here.
Yeah.
They're on a different side.
Yeah.
Than B-15 and X5. So maybe, like...
Yeah, I mean, B-15 is...
Brad sees them as, like, pretending to be something they're not.
Yeah.
He's like, Mobius, you're actually a nobody. You can't pretend to be this person. This person isn't real.
Yeah.
And Loki, you're actually a villain. You're pretending to be a hero. But he has nothing to fight with B-15 about. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how to interpret it.
I mean, I think that's... I think just the fact that, like, B-15 hasn't not admitted that things are terrible by not knowing who she is and stuff like that. Whereas Loki hasn't admitted, like, he wants to go back to the sacred timeline or exist again, right? He is sort of in the TVA.
It's like he's a TVA person now.
Yeah, like he's taken on a TVA persona, and Brad's like, that's stupid.
It's stupid. Yeah. You're lying to yourself.
Mobius ends up punching him in the face.
Oh, Mobius, you angry boy. Oh yeah. I had some more stuff about the interrogation.
Oh, sure.
So, actually, I had kind of a lot about the interrogation.
Sure.
Yeah. Weird. Anyway.
Oh,
no, they go in. When is the interrogation? Is it now?
No. They go, and the interrogation is after they go and talk to
Okay.
Yeah, it's after they go and talk to
Ouroboros.
Yeah,
you can go through that. I have some interrogation stuff.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to point out, so like they go and say, hey, here's this temp pad. It was adjusted. Could you take a look at it, OB? And OB's like, is this more important than the temporal loom collapsing? And they're like, no, focus on that. But I did want to point out that when the costume designer came and talked to Ki Hei Kwan about his design,
he's got like a mechanic fit.
Yeah, it is. But also he's like, could you put on some patches? And it was after his character Data from Goonies. Data had like a bunch of patches on his costume. So.
I like that there's 3 of them. Like,
there's 3 on the front, and then there's 1 on each shoulder.
Yeah, but the number 3 is significant in this show so far.
Yes.
Because triad, because triangle, because 3.14159.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So then they decide to try and use the manual and...
Miss Minutes, you're evil as hell.
dig into trying to figure out what this tempad is doing. And Casey comes up and tells them, oh, Miss Minutes is helping Renslayer.
It's like cop vibes. They have like working the case on the night shift. Cop movie energy.
And Casey,
what is this, Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Casey's like, oh, I'll try and figure this out for you.
I know that you don't know the handbook?
Yeah. You haven't read the handbook? Well, not memorized it.
Oh, I practically memorized it.
Yeah.
I love Casey.
Then they go back and actually try and do the interrogation part 1, which ends up even Mobius, I love this idea that like Mobius is like, we all know Brad's an asshole, but don't let him get under your skin. Skin reference again. So like the snake,
skin,
the Ouroboros, the snake shedding its skin. Don't let him get under your skin. Well, you can only shed your skin and be reborn. You need to shed your skin to be reborn. So getting under your skin helps with that. But Mobius rejects that in that moment and punches Brad.
I hate you, Brad. Anyway. Oh, God. This scene is so interesting. Like, it's... the other scene is good, too. But I have so much more thoughts about this because it involves so much more, Well,
like, picking on Loki and pointing out, like,
and
his
God,
villainies.
It has, like, the close-ups during...
Right.
This is, like, a general thing about the whole episode. They particularly do a lot of, like, really close-ups when... they're talking, like when very high emotion, very personal things are happening to the characters. Like they're very emotionally symbolic. You can see every quirk of an actor's face. And, when we get the close-ups on the attacks on Loki and Mobius, like we never get a super close-up on B-15 because she's not so emotionally involved, but she's like still involved. So we get like kind of that like more middle range shot. Versus the close-ups, which is, I am attacking you. I am personally picking at your weakness to try to get you to let me go. Like, Brad is doing this super intentionally. They're very intense. And, like, when Loki is doing his whole, like, I'm actually a villain. Ooh, I've just been waiting. We can kind of, it, like, widens out because it's, like, less personal now. He's, like, playing a character. He's, like, because he's not actually a villain. We understand that he is playing at this idea. He's not actually. So that's why I think it zooms out a little bit, is because we're like, oh, you're not actually saying this. Because if it was, the camera would be a bit closer,
Yeah. Well, we do get them like super like sallow cheeks and like very angular.
Also like, he's in shadow a little bit.
Yeah.
Also just the like, where is Sylvie? You're way too obsessed with her. And then to Mobius, he needs therapy.
That was a great line.
I love that line. But yeah. And then, like Mobius starts to be attacked, right? And I just, like, he has such a soft, like, nice guy personality. And but he's, like, so deeply insecure about being a nobody.
Yeah.
He's like, and he, like, tries not to be bothered about it until, like, it sets in, and then he snaps and punches Brad.
Yep.
And like Loki is immune to that kind of like picking at your insecurities because he's been picked at his whole life.
Yeah.
Right? Like by just
everyone
being the god of mischief. He's like, being constantly
an outsider. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, he knows how to fire back. He knows how to play into it. He knows how to be threatening versus where Mobius never has to be threatening. So he, like, doesn't know how to be threatening. And so he just snaps. And I thought that was interesting to, like, compare the two
I couldn't get a good picture of him punching him, but...
Smack.
Yeah, like, he got a good punch. Any other thoughts on the interrogation?
No, it's such an interesting scene.
Oh, it's
like,
great, yeah.
It's, like, again, we have, like, a trio of people talking. And the silent
surrounding
onlookers.
Yeah.
The silent onlooker. Oh, and Mobius subconsciously maybe takes him and Loki to the automat.
Yeah,
so, like,
but they're talking the whole way, and it's
are.
such a cool shot. Like it's this
is.
curved hallway leaving the interrogation room with all of these like filing cabinets and like random stuff. It's fascinating to watch.
It feels like Mobius has taken himself there before when he's frustrated.
Yeah,
it feels like it might be a safe space. food is a good comfort. And I wanted to say, because I learned what an automat was because I saw it on the wall. So an automat is a fast food restaurant which serves food from like vending machines, typically simple foods and like drinks. Obviously, this has like a touch of, you know, space. It reminds me of Star Trek when they have like the food synthesizers. But the first one opened in Berlin, Germany in 1895, which
automat.
Which was just after German unification.
Wow.
Which we're learning about in school. So I was like, maybe
and he
this
goes straight for the key lime pie.
Well, Loki's the one who suggests pie.
Yeah.
And then that gives that idea to Mobius.
And he goes
but I think that
for the key lime.
Mobius is like taking himself there because it's a safe space. Nobody else is there.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like on a lower floor. It's clearly on the lower floor because it's more blue, so that means lower.
Oh, really?
Well, the only time we see like blue so heavily is when we're on the lower floors with
Obi.
Ouroboros.
Oh, okay.
And so like I'm thinking it's a lower floor probably. Maybe it's a higher floor. I don't know. But it's definitely not one of the main floors because it's not so orange.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that, you know, that color shift. They're private. This is a private space where they can just chat. And it seems like it's like a quiet,
nurturing,
safe space
in
like a lot of ways. So I just thought that was like an interesting thing to note. Also, you know, definition of an automat.
They're having key lime pie, which is like all super green, so it's like Loki pie, hyper green pie. And they're sort of chatting about their like sort of this experience Mobius is having, and Loki's comparing it to the invasion of New York, which is really funny. But we kind of come down to like the crux of the conversation, which is Mobius says, whatever life that Brad is referring to is not my life. This is my life. Like, because I'm living this. And he actually is concerned that his life
on Earth
out there was actually better. There is that fear in his mind. Like, what if it was good?
What if it was good and what if I'm missing out? You know, this is good. I can live with this.
Yeah.
If it was bad, I would be so happy, you know?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, this is like some breakthroughs in Mobius's character. And I must say, the key lime pie was the key to learning about all of these characters.
I find it super fascinating that it's pie, again, because it's like
3.1.
It's a circle, but also because it's a irrational number, it has no end.
Oh, like a Mobius strip.
Yeah. So Mobius being like nurtured by pie is kind of perfect.
It's like super green, so it's also like Loki.
Yeah.
This is like one of my favorite scenes of Loki.
It's
I think
great.
So far this season. It's just such a soft scene. I love when they're soft.
When they're soft boys. They certainly do come to the conclusion that like B5 is a good hunter. Brad is a good hunter. And that he probably found Sylvie, but like didn't turn her in because he wanted to like live his own life on the sacred timeline. And so to get it out of him, they can't use standard tactics that he would be aware of from the TVA.
I also want to say sporks are a compromise between spoon and fork.
Yes,
and
they are.
I feel like there's been a few compromises so far. This was the only thought that I had that I felt like I needed to say when we were watching it. I don't remember what else there was, but
the spork represents
is a compromise.
It represents the middle path.
Yes.
The triangle, the compromise. Yes. Sporks are the ultimate middle path utensil.
They make no sense.
So we have OB who is trying to help the temporal loom, which is going to explode. So he brings a temporal aura extractor to the temporal loom, but he has to open the blast doors and he is locked out. So we get a couple of shots of OB kind of throughout the interrogations.
I really hope that by the end, Casey and OB have to work together to retrofit the new device and they become long-lasting friends.
That would be amazing.
That's my dream.
So we get to interrogation part 2, where Loki pretends to be incompetent for a little while, but actually knows exactly what he's doing.
I mean,
with
that
this
is Loki classic.
torture device.
Loki classic TM.
right? B5 seems to be resisting. I'm not 100% sure why he's resisting so hard. It's not like he has
you mean X5
Oh, sorry.
or Brad?
X5. Brad is resisting. I'm not 100% sure why he's resisting so hard.
I don't know. I think he is a bit symbolic this episode too, because he's like, he represents kind of the extreme resistance against, like the TVA. Sylvie's not here.
I mean, ideally we have to view it as the reticence Loki has himself in finding Sylvie and how mad she might be at him finding her. So it's
also
all like
how
psychological.
mad she might be at like him kind of taking on a TVA role, kind of finding a family, kind of finding. I mean, the whole like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was about finding family, was about finding home.
Yeah.
We saw that with Gamora. So why can't Loki, our misfit boy, find a home in the TVA, a place that is timeless and without form, like he?
Yeah. Good point. Interesting. But he feels maybe some guilt about what happened. And so Brad sort of represents that for Loki, potentially.
Brad is so extreme. He's like, ah!
Exactly. But he eventually
dog, Mobius.
is very, very scared. Mobius allowed him to do this. They were just pretending. They were just fooling.
I feel like, honestly, every Mobius line, like, after, like, watching it, you're like, huh, what is happening? I'm sure this is a bit, but also, like, wow, Mobius, that sounds so genuine. And then I rewatched it and I was like, this man is acting. I can tell. He's like, let me in. Don't actually let me in, but, like, let me in.
We cut to Casey and B15 trying to help out
fanboy
Ouroboros. He realizes that Ouroboros is the creator of the TVA guidebook, which I don't know. I want that now. Don't you want the TVA guidebook?
You can buy it. I'll just look at it passively.
But like, I would put it on my shelf. That would be, or I would keep it on my desk because that's what you're supposed to do. Somebody write the TVA guidebook.
I'm sure that it'll be released as like a prop or something you can buy.
I mean, he asked for his autograph in the book. I've read it. I've practically memorized it. I agree. I think that they're gonna end up working together.
Hey Mom, if you have to sign a bunch of stuff because you ever get so famous, you should make a stamp.
Make a stamp? Is that because my signature is so bad?
No, just so that it doesn't hurt you, like hand or whatever. Like signing so many things.
How many things do you think I'd ever have to sign?
Like a lot? Like 1,000?
You think I'm that famous?
I think you'll get that famous. I don't know. You have more motivation than Dad does.
I love your faith in me.
I have ye foolish optimism. What childhood hath granted me.
Either way, Ouroboros needs some help, and they realize, hey, they need the He Who Remains temporal aura scan to open up the blast doors.
Like a fingerprint?
It's like his essence, sort of.
We need your essence.
We need your essence. Brad has told them that where Sylvie is on the branch timeline.
Cut to Broxton.
Yep.
Oklahoma. In a branched timeline.
So they head there.
I think it's super interesting to me that Brad is like, he's scared of branched timelines because he knows Dox's plan. And that's why he hides on the sacred timeline.
Yep.
Versus a branch timeline, which he knows will get bombed.
Yeah.
Bad boy is smart.
He's a good hunter.
He is.
Yeah.
He was a very good hunter.
He was a good hunter.
I can't believe he would betray his mama Dox like that.
Yeah. It was very maternal relationship.
It was a weird relationship.
Weird relationship. This gave me back all the nostalgia of 1980s McDonald's. But super fascinating. This is London. They made it look like Oklahoma. So, wow.
Yes, okay.
We see Sylvie working behind the counter. She's changed her style a little bit. More mullety.
That line, very 80s. That line where it's like, can you refill the thing? Already done it. It to me, it doesn't show like, oh, I'm an overachiever. It shows like Sylvie is good at her job.
Right.
Like, it's not a hard job, probably, but, like, she's good at it. She's, found a place and she is thriving And Loki rolls up to take all that away from her.
I would say that she has become ultra protective and become like managing this space. And it comes into what archetype I actually think that she's in right now, which I'll get to in a little bit. But it is really fascinating. So this is very home-like for her.
Yeah.
This is her home now. And so that's really, really important.
That's why she's so devastated at the end.
Oh yeah, I know. Look at that face. She just like, she's staring at Loki. Loki looks ashamed to be there.
The shifting between Sylvie and Loki in that like dramatic, back and forth shift.
Mm-hmm.
The colors are so different.
Yeah.
She is in the bright red, white, yellow of McDonald's. It is a bright, composition versus Loki, Mobius, and everybody, which is like very cool, neutral colors, kind of like this could be at any time, in any place, not necessarily a McDonald's,
Yeah.
It is stark different, and the constant shifting is like, you get that sense of like, whoa, tension, what is happening?
It's also really interesting to like choose such a specific place and time and style that absolutely, to your point, dates where Sylvie is and that she is in this spot. Oh my God, I love
and this like split here is like very
with the counter
contrasting
between them.
You can order.
How you gonna order? But he asks for some time, and so she's like, my break is in 5 minutes. She takes him outside, and this is actually legitimately something every time that you would work at McDonald's. I worked for McDonald's for like 6 months when I was in high school. Every time you worked for McDonald's, they would give you a meal with your break.
Oh, that's nice.
So like you could just like eat McDonald's, which I mean, not super great for you.
You get sick of McDonald's pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I love her green truck because Loki, right?
Also, more Enchantress stuff. During the conversation, they mentioned Enchantress, which I know you were all over.
Well, enchant me. You can see. And she's like, no, don't want to see.
The British accent you just put on.
Yeah.
I forget that they're British because I'm so desensitized to British accents.
That makes sense. So I did want to point out that, yes, she does have bangs. And this is a change from when she arrives at the McDonald's.
I mean, hair theory states that she's made a bold decision. She's clearly getting over a breakup.
Yes. And she might have made the wrong decision by killing He Who Remains. That's a question mark we have on the whole season. It's not really resolved whether that was the right decision or the wrong decision. And she cut her hair in bangs, which hair theory
theory states
but also bad breakup, and her hair is in bangs in the quote unquote future of the TVA.
Her rings. I've not seen those rings.
She's been wearing those the whole time.
Damn. No wonder she's gay.
And I love her jacket.
Yeah, she looks so good.
It's very like 1980s, like
1980s core.
Yeah, like Breakfast Club.
Oh,
like that sort of thing.
I have a mental image of my mom in the 90s. And like what year did you go to high school? Like 90s?
Late 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I have a mental image of you in high school in my brain.
Oh, okay. I did not have bangs.
No, but you had short hair.
I did, yeah.
And you looked cool.
And Loki's like, okay, so I saw you in the future. And that was like the bangs situation. You could tell because of the bangs. And he's like, oh my God, your bangs. No, that didn't happen. But she's like, it sounds like
the future's already been written.
Yeah, that's like you're trying to say like this future's already been written. And he's like Sylvie, you just need to listen to me. You can see it. You can enchant me so you can see this.
It's like, I don't want to see it.
And she's like, I don't want to see this. She does end up using her enchanting on Brad,
Bro,
which is so interesting.
It's actually kind of rude because enchanting is a deeply personal thing. It's like, it's like mind melding from Star Trek. I watched one Star Trek.
Yeah. I do want to talk about what's going on with Sylvie and like what this all means. So high level, when we talk about archetypes, they generally fall into 3 phases, and those align to the phases of life. Although they're gendered, they're not necessarily gendered for the sake of talking about story. Men can be in femme phases, and femme can be in masc stages.
I remember when you were talking about this in the context of Willow. Yes,
exactly.
You should listen to Mums.
Yeah. So I would say that both Loki and Sylvie were both in the hero stage last season, i.e. they were going into the deep dark citadel and slaying the dragon. Loki ended up running away from that situation. She kicked him through a time door. It was a draw.
It was a draw.
It was a draw. But Sylvie ended up slaying the dragon. Sylvie ended up slaying He Who Remains, the bad person at the end of time. And so she had successfully passed her hero stage. And the queen phase is understanding that you've learned how to love, and now you want to protect and build a home and protect others. Unfortunately, because she's kind of in a stage of passive protection, she doesn't want to actively seek out those she loves to protect, like Loki.
But she is protecting people, like we see at the end.
But it's like, I'm building a fortress around myself
versus a fortress around us.
Yes, and around Loki, who she still cares about. And so she's actually in a negative archetype called the Snow Queen, which it draws its name from the fairy tale, the Snow Queen. Elsa is a Snow Queen. Right. So you kind of see these things.
So if you are on any phase, you can go into
an aggressive aspect, which would be like you're out there hurting people, or a passive aspect is a shadow aspect. So both are shadow or negative aspects. And a shadow aspect is passive. You're hiding from something. And Sylvie's hiding from love and wanting to take more responsibility on and continue the fight.
Okay.
Loki, I would say, actually, based on our conversation, you and I, is in a queen phase because he's building a home in the TVA.
Yeah.
And he's taking on the responsibility of those around him.
Okay. So with this context, where do you see their arcs going?
So to successfully go past the queen phase, if you're a Snow Queen, you need to learn how to protect others, especially those you care about most in the world, universe, multiverse. And take on the responsibility of protecting the whole kingdom. So you can only do that by, probably for Sylvie, coming back and helping, right?
Which we see kind of in that future area-ish, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, right? And that's what happens with successful queen moves. You can still move forward because of age and responsibility, and still be in a negative archetype, becoming a puppet of a larger power. Or you can have a fall arc where you become a tyrant and become evil yourself. So there's lots of things, and these are repeated in story and are super consistent. There's also flat archetypes where there isn't really like movement right now, but I would actually classify Sylvia as a Snow Queen right now.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So depends on where she'll go. But what about Loki?
And.
Oh, okay.
You like this place. You've made it a home. And that's how we know where she is in the phases. She is a queen, but she's in this passive, I don't want to get involved.
Yeah. I mean,
and she does get involved for a little bit, but then she immediately goes back.
To be fair, she does like get involved. Like, she's never been in a true involved period until she kills Kang. Because otherwise she's been running.
Yes.
Interesting.
She's been like either a bully or a coward. She's never been like the hero until she worked together with Loki. Loki, I would say, is because the hero stage is all about learning and accepting love. And so Loki and Sylvie were both in that period.
We're in it together, girl.
Like Lamentus, like the Citadel of Time, the Kiss, like it's all there from an archetype perspective. So Loki is now a queen. He's there. He's protecting Mobius. He's helping. Right? Yeah. He's building.
Become a king.
He's trying to build his thing and his home and protect those he cares about. Sylvie especially. He's trying to protect Sylvie. He would protect Mobius. He would protect B-15. He would protect Casey.
Damn.
Right? So
he's being the queen his mother couldn't be.
It's And then
'Cause she dead.
moving to king is about extending that protection to the whole kingdom. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Being the king Odin never was. Anyway.
Yeah.
Just throwing shade on the whole Loki family right now.
But you get these amazing scenes with
I love a good two
Mobius and Brad sitting there.
Brad is so uncomfortable.
He's like, I see you were just setting us up for a great meal. And he's eating the apple pie from McDonald's, which has not changed in like the 30 years.
30 old years.
And he's got his fries, he's got his drink, he's got everything. And Brad just sitting there
Mom, it's like
super
40
confused.
years since then. It's like 40 years since.
40 years. You're right. It's been 41 years. So Brad's like, what are they doing? Going through every detail of their relationship that has ever happened?
It's a complicated relationship when you're in a relationship yourself.
With yourself. They say opposites attract, but no. And I really wanted to talk about this for a second. So when you go through the alchemical union with yourself, you basically fall in love with yourself. And then we talked a lot about this during Loki
when
season
it was
1.
happening, yeah.
And, but the key is that these disparate aspects of yourself might not always agree, but they're still you. And so once you accept them, that's when the alchemy happens and you become a more whole person. And Brad,
you become gold?
In a way, yeah.
I mean, because you're using the word alchemy.
Yeah, it's alchemical psychology, which is based on the symbols of classic alchemy.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was confused.
You need to collect the different pieces of yourself psychologically. So yeah, you can make gold. So you can become more whole as a person.
You can never truly make gold, but yeah.
Yes.
Gold is the perfect, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of idea.
Yeah.
And Brad's reaction, God, it's weird. I love this so much because it's like it's meta contextual.
Yeah.
It's talking about how many people even on the internet find the Sylvie Loki relationship super weird. But like Mobius is like, yeah, but like they're in a relationship. Like
he's
like,
so
deal.
chill. I love him.
Deal.
I think the thing is, I've never viewed it as like a proper like relationship. Not to say that it's like not a relationship in fiction, but to me it's super symbolic. And that's more than anything, it will always be symbolic. Like, it's meant to represent something. Sure, maybe they, I don't know, end up together, etc., right? But they are also entirely symbolism.
Yes. There's a deep symbolic current to their entire, like...
It's less like a meet cute story, oh, these two people fall in love. No, it is deep interpersonal, psychological understanding of Loki, man.
Yeah, I also think that when you have symbolic elements to a relationship story, it's always going to be more powerful. Like if you have like the opposites attract idea, like you have I burn things with fire and I save things with water, or I'm a killer and you're a healer. Like
you're red, I'm blue.
Elemental as an example.
Elemental.
Right? Yeah, no, but like when you have like those sorts of symbolic things happening with also romantic relationship on top of it, it makes it that much more powerful. Yeah.
I just pretend that they're not in a romantic relationship.
They kissed.
I know.
All right.
Well, okay, the thing is I don't actually pretend that. I'm aware that that's happening, but I also ship Loki and Mobius. I can do whatever I want.
I mean, yes, this is fiction.
This is my fiction, Mom.
Yes.
You can't take this away from me.
No, I can't. You're right. That's true. But Mobius and Brad get into Zaniac.
They talk about Zaniac.
And he's like, tell me about Zaniac. It's an elevated thriller. Zaniac in the comics is insane.
Dad was so confused.
Literally so confused. So we had to stop the show because Kyle was like, oh my God, you got to hear this. And he had like just looked it up on one of the wikis. But so Zaniac is a demon from the dark dimension, i.e. Dormammu.
Dormammu, I've come to podcast.
And
it's all full circle.
He was sent by Dormammu and possessed the original Zaniac person, which was Jack the Ripper. And then if you kill Zaniac, you are possessed by Zaniac.
And you must kill women.
And you must kill women, which is like, what writer came up with this?
What misogynistic?
Yeah, exactly. Eventually,
I want to get vengeance on my boy ex-girlfriend moment was that.
Eventually, Brad Wolfe was possessed while he was filming a slasher movie at the University of Chicago
Called
so
the
specific,
Zaniac.
called the Zaniac. And then there was also the Manhattan Projects was happening at the same time. And so there was an explosion. So he was able to create knives out of nowhere. Eventually there's like some confusing stuff around like kidnapping somebody's girlfriend. And eventually it comes around to killing Jane Foster, and she wasn't supposed to die in the sacred timeline. So they reversed time and brought things back so that they could kill Zaniac before he possessed anybody throughout time. It's insane.
Weird.
It's weird. It was like, I don't even know what to think about that this is brought up, but is it just a reference? Is it just an Easter egg, or does it mean something more?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's just like a wild piece of information.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if it does anything. We find out that Brad is really, really desperate to get back to the sacred timeline because of this.
Because it's
Because of what?
Because Doc is gonna bomb them.
Yeah,
He knows that.
He knows that, yes.
He's so hesitant to reveal the truth and to betray Doc's, like, because even if he's a deserter and like will be persecuted by Docs, he's like so hesitant because he knows because he doesn't want to betray her, even if he's
his mama.
Agree.
It's such a weird relationship.
They are so weird.
So weird.
Sorry, that's weirder to me than Loki and Sylvia's.
Weird.
Would you not fall in love with yourself, mommy?
Myself is pretty cool. So they go and confront Docs. Sylvie uses her tempad, which is the He Who Remains tempad, so he can go literally anywhere in the timeline.
Damn.
Loki actually even points this out. Maybe that's how she got to the future of the TVA, and maybe that's something to do with it. But they go and fight, and they hold hands at a key moment.
Well, she does say, "Don't overthink this."
Don't overthink this. But they use their powers together.
Aww.
And are way more powerful.
Honestly, I will say that the fight scene is one of the most normal colored scenes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a particularly orangey or bluey font, like, color scheme. It's just straight normal colors. Also, the outside of the McDonald's also has really normal colors, which is so interesting because the TVA is just in this like vintage filter.
Exactly.
It's like I went on Instagram and just colored the whole show.
So they stopped Docs from doing all of the damage that she was going to do, but they weren't successful in stopping all of it. Many of the branches were utterly destroyed, and there's only a couple of branches that remain on the sacred timeline. Just at that moment, Casey's trace on Ravonna Renslayer comes to fruition.
I do think that it helps the plot that they got rid of all of those branching timelines.
Yeah, it certainly does take the pressure off of OB and what he was doing.
Yeah, it makes it easier for him to retrofit a device.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, okay, man, thanks, plot.
Sylvia's like in disbelief. Like, this is all you can
upset.
handle. Like, who are you? You can't protect me. You can't protect anyone. This is not what we wanted.
You're part of that corporate scum now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're angry. They're angry at each other.
But it's also
Stop
probably
fighting.
not what she pictured the outcome of killing He Who Remains is. Because she thought it would mean free will for everybody. But the question is, if they can track if things happen, then is there free will? I don't know. It's really hard. And Loki says it's harder to stay. Please don't leave. It's harder to stay. Because it is harder to stay when things are going terrible. And this is her cementing that she's back in her Snow Queen phase, because she's not willing to stay and help.
She's isolating herself.
She is isolating herself, and that's it. It is exactly what you see when you sort of picture somebody at that archetypical stage. The episode ends on Sylvie on her green truck listening to music.
Talking to Jack.
Yeah,
The
Jack.
Ripper.
And well, no, but I think it's important to notice that she's worried about him getting home. Like, is your mom coming to pick you up? Like,
Yeah, no.
It's-
That's what I meant by...
the queen archetype is also synonymous with like the mother phase of
Mhm.
life, and so she is protective of those around her, even though this is
15-year-old manager at McDonald's.
yeah, exactly. But she's like, if anything happened to Jack, like she would like, you know,
Be upset,
kill
yeah.
them, kill whoever hurt him, probably. But I did want to point out one thing. So she's holding the tempad, and to me, I went back to the last episode of last season, and I grabbed a good picture of the tempad. It looks like a McDonald's M.
It also looks like a shell.
Like a shell, yeah. But it's got like those gold like lines
Kind of does. Yeah.
kind of through it, just like the citadel at the end of time. But it sort of looks like an M. So it's like this is like
This is your calling, girly.
this is the thing that she found when she fought the dragon. She took this away. This is the key for her. But
my treasure. My precious.
she thinks like, I need to hide in the McDonald's, but the M is there. It's interesting. I want you to think about that as we watch the next couple of weeks, because if it comes out to be something more significant, that this tempad, this thing that He Who Reigns like gave her basically, what does that mean? So Joseph Campbell talks about how when you slay the dragon in the darkness, Siegfried actually took a bit of the dragon's blood within him, because you have to consume some of the darkness of the monster that you slayed. And so she has a bit of his power now with the tempad. It's interesting. I don't 100% know what it's going to mean, but I'm really, really excited for it.
Questions that we will answer next time.
Yes, we are absolutely done this episode. Any final thoughts, Robin?
It's a good episode. I like that we're like figuring it out together. I think that I'm excited for next week. I'm excited to record with you again. I really like the show. I think this is definitely one of my favorite shows of the current moment.
Of the current moment.
I don't know.
Fair.
I've always really liked Loki. I think he's definitely like a comfort character of the MCU for me. Like MCU is so chaotic. It's like him and Spider-Man, man. Leave me alone. Leave me with my boys.
Well, thank you for listening to High Tea Loki. We'll be back for the next episode to discuss all the things that we saw and perhaps a little bit what it means over some tea.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Take care, everyone. Cheers.
Bye.